Live from the studios of 106.7 My Talker Radio, it's Curtis Wright on the beat.
We're back live here on the beat, 8:05 in the morning. Going to be a beautiful day here in southeastern North Carolina. You keep be safe out there traveling in and out of the area and around the area and around the region. The new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. Keep it tuned here all the way to Beck, on to Laura, on to Sean. And the legal line is on at 6 o'clock tonight. Tom Goolsbee will be back. Boy, the number of calls he's getting these first couple weeks of the relaunch of your legal line is amazing. So get your questions ready for him tonight. And then on to Andy Dean. I call him Andre. He's a young host, and he's doing a great job in the evenings and nationally syndicated. He's up to about 300 stations now, doing a great job. So stay with us all day here on the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. Find out more about the station and our full schedule and all else going on, and connect with all of our hosts nationally and locally at WMYT1067FM.com. Military background, lives in Fayetteville, and now has decided to run for Congress from the 7th Congressional District. And he has come all the way down to be with us live here in studio this morning. This interview will be up on our live stream channel probably tomorrow. And we appreciate him coming in to talk to you about his position on major issues. Running on the Republican side, again, for the 7th Congressional District, is Chris Andrede. Did I get it right that time, Chris?
Yes, you did,
Andrede.
Curtis.
And Chris, thanks again for coming down and being with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell the folks, and by the way, you get the Best Dressed Guest of the Month award for us, and it is great to have you here. Tell the folks a little bit about your background, and then I'm going to ask you that question that I ask all new folks who run for office. What were you thinking when you decided to run for public office? So first, your background.
My background is primarily in the military. I spent 4 years with the United States Marine Corps, and I was a cook, and I couldn't do that for a career. So I went to San Diego after my 4 years in the Marine Corps, and I was a chef and assistant chef in San Diego. And then in 1983, when the barracks in Beirut got blown up, I thought there was going to be a war. So I went back and talked to the Marine Corps, and they were going to take 2 stripes. I got out of Sergeant E5, and they were still going to make me a cook, and I went down the hall and went into the Army. Mm-hmm. And I started out as a radar crew member and worked my way up. I became a member of a military intelligence branch, and I did 26 years with the Army. I've served in Bosnia, Afghanistan, Central South America, and the drug interdiction effort. Can't really talk about that much. 2 tours in Iraq. And I retired in 2010. Went to work at Fort Bragg as a Department of Defense employee with the Civil Service. And to answer your question is, I looked at the wife not long ago and said, I can't just sit back and complain about what I'm seeing on the TV, what I'm seeing from the politicians. God's given me a lot of experience, put me through things that most men would only dream of, some hard challenges. And I said, I want to run. And I want to give the people of the 7th District another choice in this coming race.
A couple things, 3 things in particular. Number 1, thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
Number 2, I had the honor of being able to simulcast my show for a couple years from the Fayetteville area. And just what you explained, and there's so much more you could talk about in detail about your service to this country, reflects the type of what I call American patriot and American soldier that is at home in Fort Bragg and the surrounding area. And we must never, ever, ever, ever forget that in North Carolina. We are the home of the American patriot and the American soldier. And what you just in brief talked about is the types of people I came across every day. And that leads me to number 3, that they never stop wanting to serve. So I thank you for that as well. This is a big deal, stepping forward. You're not stepping forward for county commissioner or a step forward for city council. You've stepped forward for the 7th Congressional District. When you say you could no longer sit by and just watch what happens, let's start with a few of the major issues that affect you or affected you the most to make this decision.
Well, one of them is immigration reform. I think it is inexcusable that we don't have something. And I think that as a party, we have some exceptional people in our party, and I just don't understand how we can't come to some resolution on this issue. We have kicked this can down the road for far too long. And on my website, I actually have draft legislation on immigration reform that covers it from A to Z, secure borders, guest worker ID card, for the minors of those individuals that came across illegally. They will be guest workers too, but guest worker minors. And then if they stay here, they'll become guest workers, and after a certain set of time, they can begin a path to citizenship, but they must attain citizenship in back of the line of all those who have done it legally.
As you just heard me speak about, and we speak about it often here, because we're the host to the II Impact Illegal Immigration Conference in southeastern North Carolina. This is a major issue to us in southeastern North Carolina. I'm proud of southeastern North Carolina being a voice. You're not going to hear it from Raleigh, and you're not going to hear it from Charlotte. A voice against the illegal immigration. You see in my studio, I have this poster in front of me. And a U.S. border hat, and it's been there for a number of years now. It will be. So every morning I see the victims of illegal aliens of violent crime. We have before us right now over 130 cases in North Carolina of child molestation and rape of our young children, DUIs, 273,000 illegal workers in our state. If we were to affect that by 40%, 30%, it'd be the largest jobs program in the history of the state. $2.2 billion of taxpayer dollars a year, and 75% hits the doorsteps of our public schools of taxpayer money wasted on illegal immigrants. I just can't, you heard me say earlier, I cannot understand how anybody who takes an oath to protect their citizens and stand up for the rule of law and the Constitution of both the country and our state cannot understand they are obligated to go to Congress and not do everything in their power to stop this. I don't understand it.
Well, I don't either, Curtis, and that's why I'm going right to the Congress, because I'm 56 years old, and if I get into the Congress by the grace of God, I can push these issues, because that's where they're settled. They're not settled at the local level. They're not. You can get support at the local level and part of the implementation at the local level, but they're not resolved at the local level.
Now, right now, I'm sure you well know that the Washington cabal, the Washington insiders in the Republican Party are looking to people like you who and characterizing you as people of principle who are unrealistic. That these types of firm stands on issues are unrealistic. And you cannot be elected. What's your response to that?
My response to that is that they're missing the point. I've been a leader most of my life. I retired at the highest enlisted grade in the United States Army. My last assignment was a battalion command sergeant major as the senior enlisted advisor to the battalion commander for 400 soldiers. And what the people are thirsty for is leadership and resolution of problems. They don't want sound bites anymore. They don't want the petty bickering anymore. They don't want Republicans kicking other Republicans in the knee. They want to fix things. And I want to take that mentality because I'm very proud of...
No, that's okay. Finish your thought.
I'm very proud of my service, and I'm proud of it because people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, have a no-fail mission attitude, and they figure out a way to get it done.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. With us in studio, North Carolina candidate for the 7th Congressional District, Chris Andrede.
Andrede.
I'm going to get it. It's going to take me a little time, and you'll get it too. Don't forget to go to his website. It's Chris Andrede for Congress.com, and that's spelled Andrade. Andrade, Chris Andrede for Congress.com. Check it out. Do your homework. We'll be right back. Lots more to talk about.
Curtis Wright.
If you have no morals and you have no scruples, come to the Democratic Party. We're hiring.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Curtis Wright. On the beat. On the beat.
Okay, we're back live here on the beat. 8:20 in the morning. Andrede.
Yes, sir.
And his first name is Chris. Now, I'm going to say something here before we start this next segment. You know, folks, this is America, and there is no pedigree that is necessary. There is no litmus test, other than maybe being a felon, that is necessary for the average American citizen to step forward and run for any office. I might remind some of my friends who have sent me some tweets that there have been thousands upon thousands upon thousands, including a man named Abraham Lincoln, that nobody knew of, who ran for office, didn't have the money, didn't have the political pedigree, didn't have all the connections, because you have to have connections or you're nobody. And let me tell you something on the other side, folks. That's what's wrong with our country, because it was started by ordinary citizens. It's always survived by ordinary citizens. And if ordinary citizens stop stepping forward and running for office and winning elections, this nation is through. So don't send me emails asking me who Chris Andrede is. He is a citizen, a former soldier, a patriot, and someone who's running for office, and he deserves our attention and respect. And by the way, every candidate in every office. And if you don't think I'm telling you the truth, then look at the headlines every day. That's the problem in America. We need more people to run, ordinary people who understand priorities and principles. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. That's from Curtis Wright, by the way. And, you know, Chris, it's you know, we talk so much in the Republican Party about common sense. And we talk about, you know, our founding principles. And we talk about all these wonderful things. But then we elect people that go out and do the absolute opposite.
I agree. That's why I'm in this race. I agree. And here's a common sense thing for you. Sometimes these things are so simple they'll make your head hurt. If I go to Washington, I'm going to push for a federal assistance photo ID card. If you draw any form of federal assistance, you must do so with the photo ID card. That way somebody can't sell their $100 SNAP card for $60, give it to another citizen that's not entitled to that, and they can just go to the store and use it. It'll get rid of a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse, and it will also give a photo ID card to our most needy citizens, so that when a great state like North Carolina passes the voter ID law, it takes away the whole argument of the disenfranchised.
And you know, we're having this argument, and this morning you started out with the issue of illegal immigration. I'm looking at a new report that came out. Since 2011, the use of the additional child tax credit has gone from $924 million to $4.2 billion. And they're now saying that the majority of that are illegal immigrants scamming the system. Now tell me that that's not an important issue. I mean, this is what I don't get from these people.
And it goes past immigration. Right now, the exponential rise of disability, the exponential rise of welfare, all these things are masking an economy that is failing. Can you imagine if all these people were not on this assistance, where the economy would be in the news? And we're getting bamboozled.
Well, that's one of the issues. I am against the illegal immigration. We've talked about jobs. Look, you take away the welfare state and people will go work. Oh, Americans won't do those jobs. Well, when you find out that you can make $57,000 a year on welfare, why the hell would I go and take one of those menial jobs? Remember, people forget the New Deal wasn't about handouts. It was, here's a job if you want it. So we had ex-executives building dams and roads, people who were ex-business owners building dams and roads and stadiums. They don't understand the history and how that works together. I guess it's because I've heard from some of your challengers that, oh, fixing the illegal immigration problem is too big. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this over here, this Band-Aid. Well, if you don't fix both sides of it, right, at the same time, it's not going to end. If you don't fix the welfare part while you're fixing the illegal immigration part, it's not going to work.
You know, I love this country. And that's why it was an honor to defend it for so long. And we can do great things. Whatever happened to doing great things? How is anything too big? We sent a man to the moon. We won 2 world wars. We lived through a Great Depression. We brought down the Soviet Empire by just being America and an exceptional nation. So how are these things so insurmountable? I don't understand that.
Well, let's get to a little bit more meat here. Okay. You have 2 challengers. One, a former state senator, Politico, and a former lobbyist for special interests. Another one is a Politico in the sense that a lawyer, but he's been in politics now, county commissioner. So when people say to you, well, what is it about you that makes you different, that makes you the one to pick, the box to check on the ballot?
Well, that's really kind of a tough question, because I'm not running against David Rouser and I'm not running against Woody White. I'm running for the people of the 7th District, and I'm giving them another choice. And whatever they've done, and I don't want to discredit anybody that's come into the public arena, and I'm not going to break Reagan's 11th commandment of beating up on another Republican. I'm not going to do it. But I think in the arena of ideas, with the thirst for leadership and the thirst for solutions, and I have a record of accomplishment in leadership, that I think that I'm a viable choice.
We have seen, when you talk about leadership, we have seen in Washington, well, and you know well because you live in a district where Renee Elmers is. You just mentioned Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, but I have a problem with that because I guess I come from California. And that was, by the way, that was put forward by a Democrat that ran against him in office. But I saw Renee Elmers run for office, step forward. An ordinary citizen, works in her husband's medical thing. She came on my show and she's going to fight against the debt. The debt. We've got to stand our ground. Well, then came the vote in 2011, and she voted for it, telling me, Curtis, but on the air, Curtis, we got him by November. That's okay. It's by November, we got him. It's all going to be fixed. That was November 2011. Here we are, and the debt ceiling's been increased 3 times, and the last time, the Republicans increased it without absolutely no offsets on the other side. So how would you go? What would you do if you were in that situation? What would you have done if you were the congressman from the 7th Congressional District in that situation?
Okay, the debt ceiling is our debt. We have to pay our debts. The reason that we have to raise the debt ceiling 3 times in such a short amount of time is because the hard work on reducing the spending is not being done. So the debt ceiling is being used as a political tool to try to ascertain some kind of, it's not real leverage. It's really not real leverage. I think that if...
Do you actually believe, I'm missing the point. Do you believe that if we said, sorry, we're cutting up the credit card, that we couldn't figure it out and still pay our bills and still meet our obligations? We would just have to cut deep into unnecessary programs and spending.
Well...
So in other words, you would vote then to increase the debt?
No, I would not vote to increase the debt. I would vote to increase the debt ceiling because we have to pay those bills. But those bills are a product of a lack of responsibility with our budget.
Would you have voted for the last go-around, the increase of the debt ceiling, which, of course, we issued $1.2 trillion in debt immediately, and not without the offsets?
Yes, we have to pay our bills. It's a separate issue from balancing the budget, cutting spending, and being fiscally responsible. If we did a budget where we were fiscally responsible, we wouldn't be talking about the debt ceiling.
We got to take a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back. And we are here with Chris Andrede. And don't forget to go to his website. We'll finish up. Let him have the last word, so to speak. His website is chrisandredeforcongress.com. I'm Curtis Wright.
Blaze Radio News. I'm Robin Walensky. Still no sign this Wednesday of the missing.
Now, back to a kinder, gentler Curtis Wright on the beat.
We're back live. You're on the beat. I'm Curtis Wright, and this is the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. Chris Andrede is with us. He is a candidate in the 7th Congressional District for the U.S. Congress, and we're going to wrap this up. You wanted to talk about this issue, and it's an important issue to us here in North Carolina, as I opened up with, and that is our military, our defense budget, our readiness, the culture inside the military today that I believe is under attack by this particular president. So let's talk about the defense and the defense budget. You know, when I brought up, one of the things that bothered me was that Renee Elmers knew very well that the plan and scheme that was put together, that there was more than a chance that ultimately there would be a negative effect on the military. That little scheme they came up with, the super committee, the deal, and all that. But she voted for it. So I bring that up for a reason, that Republicans over and over again seem to think that these schemes and tricks they play are going to get us to the end result of something positive to fix a problem, and it never does. It makes things worse. And my position has been, Chris, that you can throw all the stones you want to at Democrats, but you need to look in the mirror. You caused this because you wouldn't stand up and fight. You weren't committed. And it goes further than just the budget. Now it's affecting our readiness. It's affecting our resources. The resources, I mean actual programs of resources and equipment and equipping our military. And then there's the culture. Richard Burr, who proudly proclaimed, I'm sorry, you're going to have to accept there's a generational transition, and all this, which was a move, a deliberate move to infiltrate the military, the largest bureaucracy in the government, and give credibility to an alternative lifestyle. They knew what they were doing. They picked on the military and the Pentagon and the Defense Department for a reason, because once you get the largest one, the rest is easy. And that's what we've seen, step after step. So what's your thoughts here? I mean, let's talk about budget. Let's talk about readiness. Let's talk about culture.
Okay. First off, let's talk about the defense budget. I've lived in my 30-year military career and my time with the Department of Defense through 3 drawdowns. And it's never to streamline the force. It's to take money from the military and use it to pay for something else because the well is dry. Mm-hmm. So if you want to streamline the military because we have no combat operations in Iraq and we're reducing stability operations in Afghanistan and we probably will pull out, great. But not one dime of that money should be spent until every soldier is paid enough not to be on food stamps and WIC. That the backlog of over 250,000 disabled veterans is cleared up. That you fund the commissary system, which is a covenant with the retirees and the active force and stop trying to close it.
Or cut their other benefits.
Or cut their other benefits.
I mean, it's not like you can say to a guy, here's okay, give me my leg back and I'll let you, take that away from my pension or my medical benefits. You can't do that kind of thing.
And you make an outstanding point. I want the people out there to realize that it's not just about the military and because I'm a retiree and I've served and seen the effects. Only less than 1% of the population volunteers and serves to be in the armed forces. Approximately 17% of that reaches retirement. So it's ridiculous that we're a burden on this budget.
$26 billion and cuts. That means breaking our promise to our military. $26 billion. And then we turn and they would not reduce or take action to reduce twice or three times that much of benefits they knew were flowing to illegal immigrants. That is morally wrong. And as Washington said, if you don't think every soldier thinks about that, the way they're treated, the next generation, when the call goes out, that's unrealistic. And it's wrong. The way we break our promise is just wrong over and over again.
You make a great point, because I want the American people out there listening to think about this. If we can't keep our promises to such a small fraction who gave so much, their lives, their limbs, their sanity, their time away from their families, what makes you think the government's going to keep their promise to the rest of us?
Well, they haven't.
That's right.
Obamacare, Social Security, Medicaid, it's always the same, like you said. It's stealing the money from different pots. We did it here in North Carolina, the Democrats did for years. Stealing the money from the trust funds and from other places to pay for what? To pay for programs for special interest groups that keep them in office. It's that simple, right?
Right. Now let's talk a little
But
about...
in this case, it's the military you're stealing from. Now let's talk, this readiness. These effects are going to have serious, serious effects on our readiness, which, am I right? I don't know as much as you do, but it seems to me, from what I've seen and what we've seen in the past, it will always cost us 10 times as much to replace it when a crisis comes.
That's a great point, but let's just talk about the active force. And everybody sees the news and what's going on the world stage. But let me break this down for the listeners so that they can get their head around it. Let's just take one aircraft carrier. All the planes, all the helicopters, all the training for those pilots, that is a floating city of 5,000 people. Weapon systems, communications, barbershops, PX, barbers, the people that cook the food. 3 shifts running 24/7. Now that's an expensive endeavor, and it should be, because that is a power projection platform that sends a strong message to any unfriendly off their shore.
Oh, that's been for how many decades now? That's the symbol of American power and the deterrent against, like you said, our enemies and our evil forces. It's again, I don't understand right now why America, again, doesn't see this so clearly. It is so blatant right now, and I'm so disappointed in this Republican who took this position as a puppet under Barack Obama, the Secretary of Defense, Hagel, that, time in which we live, we're doing this. And then we're surprised that these things are breaking out all over the world. Russia, China, the Middle East, the rise back of Al-Qaeda. We talk about common sense. Come on. When the evil sees that you're weak, then evil's going to make a move, right?
Exactly. And, it's human nature, because of the spirit of this country, that we want the other countries to love us. Okay? But realistically, we at least want them to respect us. But if you don't respect our lives, and you don't respect our liberties, and you don't respect our strategic interests, then you better fear us. And without a powerful military, we're actually not a well-populated country compared to the rest of the world. What makes America powerful is our military. And without that, what are we going to do?
No, it's not what we're going to do. I think, excuse me for maybe correcting you, I mean, in a sense, what are they going to do?
Yes.
And the theys are unknown, right? We're
Yes,
seeing
sir.
that right now.
Yes, sir.
It's like weeds that are just taking over the driveway,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Chris Andrede, candidate for the 7th Congressional District for Congress of the United States. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for traveling down to see us. We're going to have you back on. We can do a phone or in-studio interview. So, folks, make sure you go and do your homework. Chris Andrede for FOR Congress.com. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to close it up with Tony McGee, so stay with us.
Tired of wishy-washy...